Tonight on JoyNews Prime, the involvement of foreigners in recent incidents of crime in Ghana is fueling a stereotype which some fear could spark a wave of xenophobia. Tonight, we speak to some Nigerians living in Ghana who are becoming worried about the trend.
Here, I know a lot of Nigerians have done real good things that somehow, if you look very well, has also brought good names to Ghana. But they don't tell about that.
We'll also speak with criminologist Dr. Justice Tankebe of Cambridge University about why it appears so convenient for fingers to be pointed at foreigners involved in crime. President Akufo-Addo says Ghana is the safest place to live in the West African sub-region.
I can say that Ghana is certainly the safest country in the West African region and remains one of the few places on earth where we're not embarrassed to see ourselves as each other's keepers.
A 35-year-old man who attempted committing suicide in the Chamber of Parliament has been arrested by the police.
I want to speak with you, Mr. President. I want to speak with you, Nana Akufo-Addo, the Excellency. I want to speak with you, Nana Akufo-Addo, the Excellency.
Meanwhile, some MPs have been accused of clocking in at Parliament only to go away from the House to conduct their own business.
How did their names get onto our record? But there's an integrity, and I think it is important that we do not give room for people to doubt our integrity.
Sandra has the business headline.
Ghana Standards Authority to get tough on more oil marketing companies after 10 of them were shortchanging their customers at the pumps. We will be hearing from the authority and the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana on this development.
Also in the bulletin, Deputy Education Minister, touched by cerebral palsy BC candidate, was carried up a flight of stairs to write his papers, pays him a visit to encourage him and his helpful friends.
Carried by his friends. It also reminded me that as a nation we need to do more.
I'm Israel Lai, and JoyNews Prime comes to you live from the JoyNews studio at Kokomlemle here in Accra with digital address GA09925539. Stay tuned in. Now, until recently, not much was heard of kidnappings in Ghana. This year alone, there have been 3 high-profile kidnappings, with foreigners as the main suspects in all the cases, with at least 3 Nigerians said to be the masterminds of the latest, involving 2 Canadian females. Some of these kidnappings have triggered security travel advisories with implications for Ghana's image abroad. In the wake of these developments, Maxwell Agbagba analyzes the trend in the following report.
There is a growing fear recent cases of kidnapping, if not checked, could have serious security implications for Ghana. What is even more worrying is the involvement of foreign nationals. Many, including President Akufo-Addo, have publicly expressed concern about the situation.
We are all concerned about this phenomenon of kidnappings, which we have not known. Our brothers and sisters in Nigeria have known it, but we have not known it in this country, and we need to do something about it.
The arrival of the kingpin raises the tempo in this parade, as is welcomed with shouts and chants. This latest arrest may bring some relief to residents of Lagos and its environs. The expectation, however, is that police will be able to rescue those still in captivity of these kidnappers.
Sometime in 2017, the Nigerian media reported the arrest of a notorious kidnapper, popularly known as Evans. The Nigerian Inspector General of Police at a program in Accra revealed the kidnapper owned a Ghanaian passport, 2 houses at Spinters in Accra. His wife, a Nigerian, also had a Ghanaian passport.
Information, according to police, indicates that they picked intelligence about the alleged kidnapping. So they stormed the residence of the Nigerians. We say that the 3 Nigerians who lived here.
In April this year, an Estonian diplomat was kidnapped whilst taking a walk in his neighborhood at Laboni. Police later confirmed the 3 suspects were Nigerians. On Wednesday, 29-year-old Nigerian John Oji appeared before a court in the Western region for the offense of conspiracy to kidnap and kidnapping. John is alleged to have taken part in the kidnapping of the 3 Takrady girls. Another Nigerian, Samuel Udutek Wills, has also been named as a suspect in the matter.
An Uber driver has been picked up in connection with the kidnapping of 2 Canadian women in Kumasi. The 2 were returning to their hostel when they were pushed into another car by some men. It's the second such incident in the city in recent times after an Indian man...
The latest case of the kidnapping of 2 Canadians also involves 3 foreigners. Here's Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma providing details.
At the end of the operation, the 2 Nigerians who were holding the women had been subdued, and a 3rd Nigerian, believed to be the leader of the gang, was arrested later at a separate location. At the end, and currently, 5 Ghanaians and 3 Nigerians are in custody for this incident. One of the suspects...
Director of Operations of the Accra Region Police, ACP Kwesi Fori, also has this to say about the involvement of foreign nationals in criminal acts in Ghana.
We putting our nose together. It started recently. We saw that some foreigners were behind the first 2 that we recorded, or 3.
Nigerians,
including I would not like, to preach hate crime or so.
Not necessarily.
But it's a fact that they were Nigerians, right?
Security analyst Adams Bona wants the Ghana Immigration Service to do more to check the influx of foreigners.
The Immigration Service, they seems to be sleeping on their job. I mean, what are they doing? Because then I'm expecting that by now they should have been telling us how many foreigners are coming into this country.
Now, the very latest information we are getting on the 2 Canadian females who were rescued from their kidnappers on Wednesday is that there were Nigerian masterminds who attempted to involve some Ghanaians. Minister of State in charge of National Security Brian Echampong, in an interview on City FM on Thursday, revealed that when the Nigerians first came to Ghana from Aflao, they made contact with some people trying to recruit them. They went to Ashaman trying to recruit them. In Kumasi, they made several local contacts trying to recruit them. A lot of these people rejected the offer. That's what the minister said. Now, at least 2 Nigerians have been arraigned in connection with the kidnapping of the 3 females in Takrady last year, sparking calls for government to take action to improve border controls to ensure the authorities know the people who are coming across the borders into Ghana. Already, some Nigerians resident in Ghana have had cause to complain they are being unfairly targeted. Latif Idris has been speaking with some of them at Tiptoe Lane here in Accra.
Some of the Nigerians, they are bad, but I don't know that you are a nice person. I say, no, it can't be because of one person that did something. Yes, you will take it around all of them. We have many good Nigerians all over here, okay? We have plenty of them. We are nice and we are good. We have plenty of them here around here. We are. But I have not seen anyone involved in stealing or in any criminal activities over here, okay? So anybody that steals, maybe that's what he chooses to do. But it can't even put that all Nigerians or many Nigerians are into that size of things or in behaviors, understand?
It's normal. When you go outside the country, outside Ghana, you see that there are also Ghana people who are out there. Some are legitimately doing good things and some are illegitimately living. So it's normal for humans. But naming everything that comes Nigerian, that one I don't support. Because more times you see that at the end of the day, they are not really Nigerians. Just that Nigerians have been branded of knowing.
How did that branding stick? Now it has stuck so much so that people believe it. We are mentioned and we believe it's a Nigerian. How did that happen?
You see, there are a lot of Nigerians in every part of the world. Virtually anywhere you go, you must see a Nigerian man. So because of the way we travel, a lot of us are moving each time, and when there is a lot of people, definitely, the good ones are there and the bad ones are there. People don't tell you the good things that had happened. in Ghana here, I know a lot of Nigerians have done real good things that somehow, if you look very well, has also brought good names to Ghana. But they don't tell about that. People only talk about the bad things.
Now, criminologist Dr. Justice Tenkebe of Cambridge University joins us via Skype to speak to us a bit more about this trend or this phenomenon that we're having to do with. Thank you very much, Dr. Tenkebe. Now, it appears that Nigerians are being tagged as being criminally minded or being criminal masterminds of some of these incidents that are being reported, or crime that is being reported. Is it a fair tag?
Thank you for having me, and sorry for the curious background to my call. I think first of all, the issue of immigration and crime, it's a highly complex and dangerous area that we need to tread extremely cautiously and allow, especially in this area, the evidence to guide us. And I think the first thing we have to say, of course, when we look at the conditions that makes people vulnerable to commit crimes, those conditions are not aligned with any national identities as such. And therefore, if we have people in our country and they experience the same strains, economic, social, cultural, and we have a criminal justice system that might not be as effective as we want it, then both migrants and indigents will be equally vulnerable to all sorts of criminal activities. So I think, first of all, we have to look at, if you look at prison statistics, for example, the proportion of prisoners who are foreigners is very small. If you look at the police's own statistics on kidnapping especially, okay, we don't have a breakdown of the distributions across nationalities from at least 2012, where we have the statistics. And so if you look at 2012 all the way to 18, we have data on kidnappings. Have we analyzed that data to see the distributions across gender, across nationalities? I think we need to do that carefully before we start blaming people of a certain national background of being much more vulnerable to criminal activity. I think there's a danger there.
All right, Dr. Tenkebe, without the benefits of the statistics that you're talking about, we are looking at the very latest incident that has happened, which is the kidnapping of the 2 Canadian females. We're learning that there were 3 Nigerians who were the ones who masterminded the whole kidnapping. Wouldn't that suffice as one of the things we're looking at? And then you also look at the latest one, or the last one that happened in Takrady, where 3 females were also kidnapped, who we have still not been able to find, and 2 Nigerians have currently been arraigned in connection with that. Will these 2 incidents be enough to say that this is the reason why fingers are being pointed at Nigerians?
What those incidents tell us is that there are both Ghanaians and foreigners involved in a particular criminal activity. So how do we try to address that problem? We have to ask ourselves, are these Nigerians known back in Nigeria for any criminal history? And if they are, why didn't we know about them when they came in? Then that raises the questions that some of your resource personnel had already alluded to, which is the porous nature of our borders, which is throughout the sub-region, the poor databases that we have to allow us to exchange data on the criminal activities of individuals. And I think those are the broader issues to be concerned with, because the facts are we cannot live in an island. There will be people who come in. Some of them might come in as people without any criminal history. But the vulnerabilities within our own society, by might tempt them into that criminal activity. So how do we address that problem? We wouldn't address it by sealing our borders. We would address those problems by looking at our police services. How can we better resource them? Looking at our borders, what can we do to know who is coming in and who is going out, and what kind of histories do those individuals have? So I think the more we look at those issues, the better place we would be to address crime, whether committed by foreigners or by Ghanaians.
All right, Dr. Tenkebe, there have been suggestions that at least the kidnappings, we're not known to have kidnappings or occur in our country, and that there may be Nigerian influence. Would you rule out the Nigerian influence when it comes to this type of crime?
Anyone who says kidnapping had been unknown in our country until 2009 or 8, I think is not speaking to the facts. I would encourage you to look at the police annual reports, and the African Institute for Crime Policy and Governance Research actually did some analysis of the data between 2012 and 2018. And actually, if you look at 2013 and 14, those were the peak years for kidnapping as recorded by the police. And since 2015, the rates have been flat until what we are having recently, what appears to be a surge. So if you look at our own official records, they show that kidnapping is not new. We've been having the problem at least since 2012. So the question for us has to be, who were those involved in those kidnapping cases? What was the nature of those cases? What is it that the police did in 2013 and 14 that led to the reduction in the number of kidnapping cases? And why have they apparently been rising again? So you see, when it comes to crime, it's a highly emotive topic, but it's one that we cannot address based on emotions. We have to try and be evidence-based when we are looking at some of these issues. And I think the more we look at the evidence, the better we would be placed to be able to address the problems. I am not in any way making any excuses for people of any nationality. But if you look globally, look at what is happening in the US. The whole countries are tagged as being criminals, and that leads to some xenophobic attacks in some instances. So we have to be cautious and look at the evidence, and then look at what policy interventions we might have to address that problem. And I think those policy interventions will come from looking at our borders, trying to make sure that the immigration services have the necessary tools to be able to keep the records. Look at the police service. Can we resource them? Today, we heard the minister in charge of national security say that the police were able to rescue these girls as a result of some of the retooling that the resources they have provided the police over the last 6 months or so. So we know that if we finance or if we resource our police services, they will be able not only to react, but also to prevent crimes from happening. And that has to be our focus.
All right. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Tenkebe. I would want you to just hold on to the line for me, because the next story you're about to play is something I'd like to take your thoughts on. Now, police have arrested a 35-year-old man after he attempted committing suicide in the parliamentary chamber. The man, identified as Kojo Mensah from Kwetimintim, sat at the public gallery with a rope, wearing the T-shirt of Kwetimintim MP Joe Mensah. As sitting adjourned, he yelled that he wanted to jump off the gallery to the main floor, but was restrained by security officers present there. Commander of the Parliament Police Superintendent Freeman Tete says a criminal investigation has begun into his conduct.
He came in as a normal visitor to Parliament to witness proceedings in the chamber, and then unfortunately he decided to jump down. So these are things that that is the initial briefing that I had. So I believe more will be established by the police as the investigation continues or goes on.
Okay. Was he searched? Were the political
procedure.
party staff on him
It's a procedure.
identified?
Searching is the first thing we have to do, just to get other information. So immediately somebody is arrested, you have to quickly conduct a search on the person. So these are procedures that no police officer is supposed to fail at all.
My point is, as he was getting into the chamber, did anyone pay attention to what he may have been holding, including...
A search is conducted. And when we are searching, we look for other things, not what he's carrying presently, because he was carrying just not even a rope, something that he used to tie the body. So those things are not implemented, they are not weapons. We look out for weapons. So once he's not having a weapon, I don't think we can suspect anything at all. And don't forget that he attempted to jump down. So those things, you wouldn't know the mind of the person. So, because if we're not doing the right thing, I don't think we would have been able to get him arrested or prevent him from jumping from the top to the down.
To the extent that he was in a party paraphernalia, which is actually what is raising the red flags, and now he got
normal clothing, a normal attire he's wearing. So we are not particular about what he's wearing. It is about the act itself, not what he's wearing.
Now, Member of Parliament's Defence Interior Committee, Joe Collins Usa-Mankwa, is condemning the act. But I'm going back to Dr. Justice Tenkebe, who's joining us from Cambridge University. Now, we have seen what the story we just played. It is a crime if you're found to have attempted suicide. But there have been calls that it's probably high time we got rid of that from our statute books, and that these people actually need help rather than being incarcerated. What are your thoughts on this?
I do share that view. And I think there are people, I'm not an expert on suicide, but if you look at work done by, I know Dr. Joseph Osafu, for example, from the psychology department at the University of Ghana, they do, and other people have said that we need to decriminalize suicide, and that this is sometimes a medical issue, it's sometimes broader socio-economic issues that need to be addressed. And I'm entirely with that view, that people like this need help, and we have to try to understand them and to provide the necessary support. Criminalizing this sort of behavior doesn't really help those individuals.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Justice Tenkebe. He's a criminologist with Cambridge University. Now, moving on, in the midst of kidnappings, terrorism, threats, and other crimes, President Akufo-Addo says Ghana remains the safest place to live in the West African sub-region. This is despite the travel advisories issued by at least 2 countries in the wake of the kidnapping of the 2 Canadian females and a terror threat. The threat, real or imaginary, appears not to have shaken President Akufo-Addo, who insists Ghana is safe and will remain so. He was addressing the National Assembly of South America, the South American country, St. Vincent and Grenadines.
Ghana is full of stunning views and scenery that we who live there tend to take for granted, but which visitors find breathtaking. However, the most attractive and the greatest selling point of Ghana is and always has been her people, the Ghanaian people. The welcome that you find in Ghana, with all due respect to honorable members in this house, is unique and like none anywhere else in the world. Our foods are interesting and tend to be once sampled, never forgotten. I suspect I do not need to remind you that we are home of kente, the fabric that has come to define the black race everywhere and will lead in fashion on the continent. Our music is catchy and unforgettable, and the drums and rhythms make us stand out. To speak in today's world, where sadly crime and terror have become part of everyday life, I can say that Ghana is certainly the safest country in the West African region and remains one of the few places on earth where we're not embarrassed to see ourselves as each other's keepers.
Ghana is safest in West Africa, but are we protected against the threats? Let's explore the subject with Executive Director of the West African Network for Peace Building, Chuku Emeka. Thank you very much. Now, is the President right when he said Ghana is the safest in the sub-region? All right, unfortunately, it turns out that we have lost Chuku Emeka there. You're watching JoyNews Prime. We're taking a break, but still ahead in the bulletin. In business, Ghana stands as authority to get tough on more oil marketing companies after 10 of them were found shortchanging their customers at the pumps. We will be hearing from the authority and the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana on this development.
With the exception of what we've seen now with Goil and Total, I think the others have been quite abysmal.
And Deputy Education Minister, touched by cerebral palsy BEC candidate who was carried up a flight of stairs to write his papers, pays him a visit to encourage him and his helpful friends.
This young man was being carried by his friends. It also reminded me that as a nation we need to do more.
So certainly I wasn't the only one touched by that gesture. We're taking a break. We'll bring you business news next. First Deputy Speaker of Parliament Joseph Owusu is questioning the integrity of some MPs who he says get their names onto the attendant list daily but don't show up in the House. He says he had reason to strike out the names of about 15 such MPs. He was commenting on the issue after Ningo Pram MP Sam George raised it.
Mr. Speaker, this is an honorable House of Parliament. Can we all be truthful to ourselves that if and to God, that if you take today's vote and proceedings, the names marked present were really present in this chamber? There are, or even at committees, there are some names that we can mention here that appear present every day. We've never seen them here. Even State of the Nation address, they don't even attend. Yet the names appear. It is a fact. And I'm saying yet names appear here. So is it that there is a way to get yourself marked present in the mail room, even when you are not present? Maybe as a first-time member of Parliament, I have not been initiated.
You and mark you. Right. But the complaint now is there are so many members whose name appear as present, whose faces never show anywhere. As I just went through, I have marked about 15 from the record of yesterday that I did not see anywhere. They don't belong to the committees which were in meeting yesterday. I know for a fact. How did their names get onto our record? That is what the Honorable Member for Kaikwe Central talked about. It borders on our integrity, and I think it is important that we do not give room for people to doubt our integrity. There are so many of them. Honorable Member for Ningo Pram is right. There are some people I have noted. Every day I checked, their names are here, but I haven't seen them here in a whole month. That practice is bad.
Okay. That's coming from Parliament, the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker. Now, Deputy Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Duchum, is worried about the nation's inability to make all public buildings easily accessible for persons living with disability in the country. Dr. Duchum made this remark when he paid a visit to the La St. Paul's Basic School this morning, where Herman Odoi Okpoti Ashong, a teenager living with cerebral palsy, is among 261 candidates writing the BEC at the center. JoyNews' Beryl Enesina Richter was at the center and filed this report.
Deputy Minister for Education, Dr. Yawase Duchum, says he wept when he watched the JoyNews story of how Herman was carried by his friends to the exams hall.
Today I want to commend Mr. Ashon Herman Odoi for your fierce determination to succeed. And I want to thank your parents for supporting you all the way. There are children like yourself who may not be here today. I saw you on TV and I was amazed. I saw how you were excited about school and how you want to become the best person the world can offer in medicine and any other subject area that you'll be offered. And I was just excited. And I also came here to see his friends who have helped him so much. It brought tears to my eyes when I saw that this young man was being carried by his friends to one level of the building from one level to the other. It also reminded me that as a nation we need to do more to make sure our spaces are spaces that can be used by everyone, including our brother here.
He also commended JoyNews for highlighting Herman's story.
I want to also thank JoyNews for the excellent reportage that they've given to this young man, and also to all of you, our students who are taking this exam. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all parents of every one of you here for the sacrifices that they've made to bring you this far.
Meanwhile, Member of Parliament for Ladade Kotopon, Vincent Sowa Odote, who also accompanied the Deputy Education Minister, charged the pupils to give of their best in order to excel.
A couple of days ago, I saw on TV our colleague here, and then it brought back something that I have known as a child, that where determination exists, failure can never dismantle the flag of success. Because I recall when I used to come here, my parents could not even afford sandals. I used to come to this school barefooted.
Some rubber producers in the Western region say they are now skeptical about government's promise to revamp the Bonsa tire factory. This is because there has not been action on the ground since President Akufo-Addo made promises to their chiefs in 2017 and 2018 to get the factory working again. The factory built by the Nkrumah government produced high-quality car tires. JoyNews' Henry Kwesi-Badu visited the facility and reports it is now serving as a maize plantation and a cocoa warehouse.
Bonsa tires and a Bosso glass factory. Feasibility studies are almost complete. Now rubber a war Western region. Papa. Now we continue to be raw material exporters.
We are almost done with the feasibility studies, and my government will revamp the Bonsa tire factory.
President Akufo-Addo disclosing to the chiefs and people of the Western region that feasibility studies of a Bonsa tire factory was almost complete as part of efforts to revive it 2 years ago. But the people say the story on the ground looks different. A maize plantation and a cocoa warehouse are now part of a once mighty tire processing factory. On both sides of the inner perimeter are huge industrial machines crying for rehabilitation. Names like Okore, Ponko and Karifi are visible on the factory's last production in 1998. A former employee, Joseph Aban, talks about how the collapse of the factory has affected him.
I was employed here in 1984, and all workers were laid off in the year 2000, leaving us with no jobs. When the factory was fully operational, we were paid well, and I took good care of my family. Now, as a security person, my salary is petty and also delayed. Life is not as smooth as it used to be.
In the over 20 years after the shutdown, the town where the tire factory is situated, Bonsaso, has struggled to figure out a way to survive. Amata, who has lived here all her life, recounts conditions before and after the company shut down.
I operated a local eatery for workers at the Bonsa tire factory.
6 o'clock.
My business was booming as most workers ate from my plate. Bonsaso is a ghost town following the collapse of the tire factory. We have always been receiving lip services from successive governments to revamp the factory.
Less than 20 minutes drive from the factory lies a huge rubber plantation, a major raw material for tie production. Visible from the Takrade-Takwa Road are canopies of rubber plantations with black little containers strapped to the trunks of the trees to collect latex. A portion is being processed by the Ghana Rubber Estates for export. Rubber is being cultivated largely across every district in the Western region and some parts of the Eastern and Ashanti regions. Patrick Kojo Oklu is an executive member of the Rubber Outgrowers Association. He wants government to add value to Ghana's rubber.
If the government will save our soul, we can bring in any investor who is ready to add value to the rubber, like what Grill is doing. And secondly, we add other values in a chain, because the value chain can make us produce Wellington boots, gloves that we use in the hospital, and internationally, look at the demand for condom. We use this very thing for condom. So can our people help some of us to establish those factories so that as the raw material is here, we use it to create jobs for the youth and as well as livelihood enhancement.
With Ghana faced with rising unemployment and sinking cocoa and gold sectors, it appears this is just the time to turn this factory around. At least, there is a government policy, one district, one factory, under which this can be executed. Henry Kwesi-Bedu's report for JoyNews.
The work they did there annoys me, so I don't go there when I am passing by. I don't even want to look there. Those are the words of the chief of Dachio in the Bolgatanga East District of the Upper East Region, who's unhappy about the nature of the dam constructed in the area and the government's One Village, One Dam initiative. Naba Akaliga II says though he was consulted before the construction of the dam began, he was left in the dark when the contractor reported to site and within a week disappeared without a word. The chief also describes the dam as a football park because he believes it is almost flat and cannot hold much water. Today in our series of stories from communities where government's One Village, One Dam initiative has kicked off. JoyNews' Upper East correspondent Albert Sori and Joshua Asa of A1 Radio put together this report.
Approaching the dam from the Bolgatanga township, we saw this embankment. It stretched over 100 meters. So at first sight, we were expecting to see on the other side of it a big dam full of water. But that was not the case. The entire landmass for this dam stretched a little more than 2 football fields, and the water covered just about half of that. We saw cattle and sheep drinking from the dam, a sign that the dam may be serving a purpose after all. But these youth of Dachio disagreed.
The youth were happy that we will be getting a dam which will help us in diverse ways. But as you can see, it's like the contractor is done and he's left. And looking at the amount of water in the dam, it can't even sustain our animals. Neither talking of doing any other thing.
Looking at what they have done, it's like it's nothing to write home about, because this water cannot sustain it to November. Neither talking of doing the dry season farming. And the bank is nothing to write home about. This bank is being done by muddy soil. It's supposed to be gravel, and the back of it is supposed to be grass, so that it can also conserve some of the water.
They said after the contractor left the site, it appeared as though he had leveled the land rather than construct a dam or a dugout. One of the youth even volunteered to wade through the water to demonstrate to us that the dam was shallow. He was warned about pits within the water, so he retreated. According to some of the youth, before this water gathered, some of the community members took advantage of the work done on the land to dig some pits where they collected sand and gravel to repair their mud buildings. We saw signs of this. A hole lying near some gravel, obviously chipped out of the ground here.
When you are going down, it's just like they just fetch the sand somewhere and packed it somewhere. And that cannot be a dam. When you enter the water, you see that it's just about your knee level. And that is the whole, even the deepest part. In fact, when it rained first, the first rain that came, the spillway that they have made, almost, the dam was getting full, but the spillway too is not located very well. So it was aiding the water to just pass out.
Even most of our brothers, we came here to complain about it, but they said they have not finished it. All this place, they said they will come back and reconstruct it or remove all this wood and logs away. But they didn't come back.
If
the contractor has not yet been paid, then I suggest the government should not pay him. And if he wants, he should go to court. Then he can prove if this is how dams are built. The president's idea is good, but maybe the people in charge of monitoring are not doing their job. If not, how can the contractor do this and call it a dam? Just like the other dams we have visited so far, the Dachio Dam also has a spillway, but it has no canals to the surrounding farms. Naba Akaliga II is the chief of Dachio.
They said it's a irrigational dam. We will be farming on it. But this one they constructed is not even a dugout. It's never a dugout. You can't describe it. That's why I gave it the name to it, a football park. It's too flat. We needed a water for ourselves and our animals. And when they came, myself and my elders all agreed, and we provided them land to do the construction. And when they started it, I wasn't around. I don't know even the person who supervised the construction. And they did it the sort of way they did. It is the contractor, the fault of the contractor. What they did, it annoys me, so I don't go there. When I'm even riding, I don't want to look there.
The people of Dachio are predominantly farmers. So this dam and the government's One Village, One Dam initiative, if properly constructed, could create a lot of jobs for the youth through dry season farming. For now, the current state of the dam has left the people of Dachio disappointed. For Joy News, Albert Sorry and Joshua Asa reporting.